Welcome to part 3 on the glowworm micracom combination boiler, which is pretty much the same boiler as the compact. Anyway, in part 1 we looked at installing this boiler and we found out it was not a good boiler to install. In part 2 we looked at commissioning the boiler and we found out that it is pretty easy to commission this boiler. So in part 3 we're going to look and see how easy or how hard it is to actually work on this boiler. Anyway, let's get on with it, and first of all get this boiler isolated and drained down. Now, to help us drain this boiler we can put it into P08, which is fill and drain. So what it will do is it will put the diverter valve into mid position, so we will drain the heat exchanger, the main heat exchanger and the secondary heat exchanger. Now it's activated, I can just drain the boiler now. Now, to isolate the boiler, all we need to do is use a flat screwdriver or a little spanner and isolate the flow. We can turn off the gas supply with this valve. We can now turn off the return, and we can turn off the cold water. To drain the boiler, we need a 6mm Allen key, and the drain is just here. So all we do is slide the Allen key up, and then I've got a bucket and a towel down here. We can just undo the drain and get our fingers on it. And it will now drain into the bucket. Now this boiler is nearly drained, I can now isolate it and disconnect the plug. Now if you do see things like switch sockets and plugs and other faults on these boilers, remember this is a training centre and not everything is installed correctly on this boiler. Now don't forget, you should be carrying out your safety touch before you touch this boiler, and obviously if you need to carry out safe isolation electrically, then you should be doing that. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this cover. Now I've just left the screws loose underneath here. Just 2 screws here, bit easy to remove. They're T20s. I'm just going to put them on this magnetic dish I've got here so I don't lose them. So now I can just pull it forward. It's a tight fit and the casing is off. Now before we start taking this boiler apart, let's have a quick look inside. So you can now see the turret, standard glowworm turret, and then when we come in we can see we've got the stainless steel heat exchanger, which looks a bit different than the older glowworms. So you can see where the heat exchanger connects to the turret, and this here at the top is the fan, which is very unusual to see a fan there. It then goes into the blending tube. You can now see the gas valve, the ignition, flame rectification, the spark generator. And we come down into the water set. So you can see glowworm have actually put the diverter valve looking upwards, because we all know what happens to these diverter valves when they're in mucky water systems. And there's the automatic bypass, and then we've got the expansion vessel and the Schrader valve. Now you can see the pump, but the pump's on its side, so it's not facing us. So if you want to get on that pump, you're definitely going to have to take these side panels off. We've got the siphon, condensate trap, we've got an easy accessible relief valve. You can just about see the plate-to-plate heat exchanger hiding in the back there, but you can't really see the flow turbine or anything like that in the back. You can see the automatic air vent, and you can see it has got this drain which terminates underneath the boiler. Now, the reason glowworms say about this is they say it's because this boiler can give off hydrogen, and you could get a build-up of hydrogen in the heat exchanger and it could explode. I'd like to see how many times that's happened, because the only time a boiler is going to produce hydrogen is if you've got a corrosion going on in your water. If you've installed your boiler correctly and you've got inhibitors in, you ain't going to get any hydrogen created from corrosion. Or is it just because they leak a lot in dirty systems? But anyway, glowworms say it's protection to stop the boiler blowing up if it produces too much hydrogen. Believe that or believe it not. Anyway, that's a quick look inside. But as you can see, it's incredibly tight in this boiler. So I am going to remove these two side panels to gain a decent access into this boiler. So you've got to think about it when you're installing these boilers, that you don't really want anything to the left or anything to the right of the boiler. So let's see if this filter gets in the way and stops us removing these side panels. Now, to remove the side panels, I need a T20 or a Torque 20. I've got two screws, one here at the top and then one down here at the bottom. Now, the side panel should come off now. And then we should be able to lift it off. So that one's come off. Let's see if we can get this one off. Top one. Bottom one. Not going to come off, is it? So I'm going to have to remove this pipe. Luckily enough, we've got a valve here, but will you have that valve on an install? So what I'm trying to prove here, guys, is if you're installing one of these boilers, please help out the engineers who have to go back and repair these or service them, and don't put anything up the right hand side of it. And if there's a cupboard, just think about it. Anyway, I'm going to have to get this pipe removed now so I can get this side panel off. Now let's start with the easiest and obvious thing to remove. Let's start with the combustion chamber burner door. Now, few things slightly different than the old glowworms. The spark generator is connected to the burner door. So we need to remove everything off the spark generator. Now, you don't try and pull this off here, because if we move this little rubber boot, it's connected onto there. So we need to remove it down here on the spark generator. We also need to remove the other two parts, so the earth and the power going into the generator. We need to get rid of them. And we need to get rid of the earth on the burner door. Now, a lot of the time these are really hard to get off, so use some long nose pliers to remove it first. Now, the gas connection, we can get a spanner on there and we can just undo the nut. Simple as this. So that's off. Now, again, Like the old glowworms, the old valence, we will need to replace the gasket on this burner door, and we'll also need to replace this gasket here. Now we've got the 4 nylock nuts, 10mm socket we're going to need, and you're going to need an extension to be able to get at this one down at the bottom here. I can only just about get my fingers in there. Let's put that down. So that's 1 nylock nut off. Now I always go opposite when I'm undoing anything, or tightening it up so you don't twist the door. Now before I take the other 2 off, we have also got the connection on the gas valve to get off. That just pulls off. And then we don't remove anything else because it should come off once we remove these 2 last nuts. So you see I slackened that one off so there's no pressure on it, because that's what's going to hold it all in for me. So that's the easiest one to remove. So I can now put that on, undo this, and then it's going to disconnect from here, not here. So I'm going to lift that up, and then this just waggles down. You do not remove this bit here. So I can do now, but not while it's on. It just comes off in one place. So that's removing the burner. So you can see now we've got this burner out. It still has the same seal on there like it did on the old one. Surely they could have done the double seals by now. So this graphite seal will need to be replaced. And obviously when, oh look at that, it's cracked already. And this only fired up a few times, hasn't it? So it's actually got a crack in there, but it's not. And there, look at that. That's just taking it off. That's all cracked. It's only run half an hour. So that's not good, is it? Anyway, hopefully that's not going all the way through, but I can't believe that. Anyway, that's how you take off this burner door off the heat exchanger. I think the next thing we'll do is we'll remove the expansion vessel. Now this expansion vessel has a really long flexible lead going to it, and the reason for that is we need to be able to remove this expansion vessel to get at things like the plate-to-plate heat exchanger and the flow turbine. So to get it out again we need 80/20. So I'm going to undo this clip at the top first. Then we need to take out this screw here and remove this plate at the bottom. And now this expansion vessel will come out on this incredibly long lead. What do we do with it now? And what I'm going to do is disconnect this lead off the pump. So I just need to take that clip out and then pull that out. Now I can do away with this expansion vessel. Now I've removed the expansion vessel. You can now see the plate-to-plate heat exchanger. You can see the low water pressure sensor, and you can see the flow turbine for the hot water. So as the cold water passes through here, it spins a little wheel, like a little hamster wheel, which makes the Hall effect sensor work. But as you can see here, Glowworm have given us this little extra bit of plastic as a handle, so we can twist that and the flow turbine comes out dead easy. And to remove the low water pressure sensor, it's just a matter of removing this clip and again the sensor just pulls out. Now, before I actually remove the plate out of this boiler, I'm just going to remove the condensate trap. So there's like another little handle here, and you pull it forward and then the whole trap comes out. And you can see the trap is completely full of water there. So make sure you don't tilt it, because if you do, you'll make the siphon work and it'll pull water everywhere. Anyway, that's removing the trap. Now, I was told this was a siphonic trap, but as you can see from this video while the boiler is running, you can see really it dribbles. So it doesn't empty a lot of water in one go. So this could actually cause problems with it freezing if it just dribbles like this. Now, I've sat here and watched this for a little while, and that's all it does. It just fills up, dribbles over the top, and then runs down into the drain. So, a big trap, but not actually a siphonic trap. It's a dribbler, not a gusher. Now, to get the plate out, we need to undo the two T20s. So there's one just there in front of the pump, and then there's one just here over the automatic bypass. So you need a long extension bar to slide through, otherwise you're not going to reach it. And then over to the other side. As you can see, there was a lot of water came out of that, so it's a good job we've got the bucket under. So that side's off, and that side's off, and that's how we get the plate out of this boiler. And you can see that is the way it goes. It says heating down and domestic hot water above. But you shouldn't be able to get it wrong because these pins are in different locations. But that's the way it came off. Now we're getting to the easy bits to remove. So let's remove this diverter valve cartridge. First of all, let's pull the wires off. Then we just need to twist this collar a little bit to get at this screw here. So again, it's just two T20 screws. So get onto that side. One screw out. Just move it around a little bit. Get onto the second one. Both of them out. And now this cartridge should pull out. Simple as that. So that's the diverter valve cartridge. Now, to remove the automatic air vent off the pump is quite easy to do. So just pull off this tube and get it out of the way. Then get yourself some grips onto these two flats here. Twist anti-clockwise and it comes out. Now, before you put it back in, just make sure the O-ring is still on the side there and it's not left on the inside of here. But as you can see, the O-ring is on the end there. So put it back in. We just do the opposite. Put it in position. And you can actually twist it in with your fingers and put back the cap. So that's taking out and putting back in the pump automatic air vent. So next we can take out the pressure relief valve. So I've slackened off the nut underneath. You just need to undo the nut over there. Take out this pin and then pull it forward. And again, get your bucket underneath. Oh shit! or just tip it all over the floor, they'll end. Anyway, that's how you get that out. And inside here, there is a filter as well. So don't forget to take that out and clean it up. So, better get the mop now and clean up. Now, last few things on this side is, first of all, the pump. So you can see there's a screw on the top left there, there's a screw on the top right there, and there's a third screw down at the bottom. There's only 3 screws to remove this pump, not 4. And there is an anti-C screw here as well. So you can take that out and then use a small screwdriver in there to unseize the pump. And then the last thing is the return thermistor and the flow thermistor. So I think the last thing I've got to show you now to take out is this fan. Now, removing this fan is straightforward. Disconnect your wires, and then again with a T20 screwdriver, we've got a screw here, we've got a screw here, and round here, which is a bit awkward to get to because of the bracket, there is another screw. I'm not going to take it out because it's literally just 3 screws and it pulls down. But you will need to remove the combustion chamber because of this, and you will need to remove the expansion vessel to get the actual fan out. Now you can see the boiler is back together again. I have put it back in the P08 fill and purge mode and got it up and running. Now, from the first video we found out it was rubbish to install. On the second video we found it was pretty good to commission. And on the third one we found out it is incredibly easy to take apart. But if you can't take the 2 sides off, you're going to proper struggle to repair this boiler. So even though they sell this boiler as the smallest boiler on the market, if you can't take these sides off, you ain't getting inside it. Anyway, hopefully you've liked the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.